three concepts: safety, honesty, and respect or empowerment. You don't have to know everything. Just remember these three things. Are you safe? Help me understand, and you deserve better. First of all, it's not a single event that happens that's bad and that's in the past. It's an ongoing, evolving relationship with a perpetrator. There's usually an emotional attachment in some way to a perpetrator. When a relationship begins, you don't say, oh, I'm going to grow up and be a batterer. No, it's a wonderful person who is your hopes and dreams usually, because that's why you get into a relationship and continue it. You may be economically dependent on that person. You may share children or friends or a social network with that person, classmates. There may be multiple incidents, and there often are. And I put incidents in quotes because I'm not talking about incidents. I'm talking about a pattern. I'm talking about a lifestyle. Okay? It's not even 100 incidents. It's the whole thing that, and our limited ability to measures isolated incidents. And that's our problem, because we're not doing a good enough job measuring. Oh, why don't you leave? Then you'll be away from that person and you'll be safe. Well, very often not. And as a matter of fact, most of the homicides take place either when just shortly after the abuser finds out that the person is leaving, or shortly after that, because their control has been interrupted and they need to regain that control. So danger may increase, and the health effects may worsen after seeking help. And you'll see when you read the study that almost all of the perpetrators of any form of sexual violence on men are other men. So I think we have an untapped reservoir of research that needs to be done on child sexual abuse and familial violence, and as it affects men and men's health. And that's why I think that focusing on women and calling it gender-based violence is important, and it's not sufficient. And we can have that conversation and tussle with that, because everything becomes complicated. So and look at just the last bullet here. 4.8% of men, about 5% of men, report being forced to penetrate someone else. And the perpetrator is an intimate partner half of the time, and an acquaintance about half of the time, whatever acquaintance means. And only 10% of the time is somebody else, which includes strangers, but it's not only strangers. Think about that. And when you think about the burden of child sexual abuse and how difficult it is for people to answer a phone survey, some stranger calling on the phone, this is pretty compelling information. Now, looking at the impact, you see all kinds of impacts, including injury and post-traumatic stress disorder, needing health care, needing legal services. But you also see that 81% of victimized women have had significant either short or long-term health effects. 81%. Victimized women are much more likely to have medical conditions like asthma, diabetes, and irritable bowel syndrome. And both victimized women and men are likely to have this other large array of health effects. And hopefully prevent violence in families and in relationships. That is everybody's vision or mission. Our two roles are private and public. Now, I never knew this when I went to med school. I was really wrong about that. Not because I messed up, but because I wasn't taught to think outside the box, push the envelope. So our individual role is very important in this field. And that encompasses using our radar. R is remember to ask about violence and abuse in every patient's life and encounter. A is to ask directly. D is to document findings and to do it well, and we'll talk about that. The other A is assess for safety. And the R is review options and refer as appropriate. And then there's F for follow-up. Because if you don't follow up, you're saying to your patient, go away. If you do follow up, you're saying, I care about you, I want you to come back.